intro. And I think we're streaming live. I'm not really sure because I can never see. But it looks like we are good. So, hey guys. Intro. Hey. Welcome to the season finale of Cheerful Conversations. And I think we're streaming live. I'm not really sure because I can never see. Can everybody else hear that? That's one. But it looks like we are good. So, hey guys. Intro. Hey. Welcome to the season finale of Cheerful Conversations. And I think we're streaming live. I'm not really sure because I can never see. Can everybody else hear that?
I do.
It's like,
I'm tripping out.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
I think I heard that like 6 or 7 times.
I know. I feel like it's still somewhere else. That was
the Apryls.
This is what happens to holiday stuff. So, okay. Hopefully, let's start that over. Welcome everyone to the season finale of Cheerful Conversations. It's episode 21. And I have brought a whole little mini army of people. Oh, I think we've got somebody else who I'm going to add in a second. But first of all, I'm going to really quickly start before I roll the intro video. I totally made a mistake last week in my episode and did not pull a winner for my raffle that I shared on my email list for some cheerful goodies. So I'm going to do that right now. I have this like box that used to have hamster bedding, but now has little names. So I'm going to pull a winner from this box of people who filled out my annual survey, and I will reach out to this person when I get off the show. But this is the person who wins. Somebody named Jeff, and I have your email address. Not the Jeff who's going to be on the show, but congratulations to Jeff. Thank you for filling out that survey, and I will get in touch with you in a little bit. So let me roll this video, and welcome to Cheerful Conversations. Okay, I don't know. Okay, I'm going to bring one more person on really quick. We are totally just chilling here. Laura, we are already live.
Hello.
Welcome. So I am here with a bunch of familiar faces and one name because we've got somebody calling in. I'm thanking all of my co-hosts. I'm glad it wasn't like such a huge, crazy amount of people that were available today because it's the day after Christmas and most people should be just chilling. But I wanted to, bring back some of my fun people to help celebrate the end of the year. I can't believe it's been 20 episodes. This is episode 21, and it's been a crazy year. And I'm just thinking back to episode 1 when I tried to go live on Facebook because that's what I had started with. And I remember that I was trying to post a video on Facebook and that was in a totally different group. It was a video of me singing a Sam Smith song in the bathroom and had amazing acoustics. And I was just testing it out in a Facebook group that I was just like me by myself in a group. And then I got blocked and then I couldn't do my Facebook Live. So I've come a long way. We, was playing around with Ecamm Live for the technology and then ended up on Zoom after all of the epic fails of technology. So we've really grown through this whole year. And I'm just so excited to have a bunch of people here with me to kind of reflect on 2018 and talk about what's coming up. So I'm going to actually go through all of our peeps here just to give a quick, hey, if you still even remember what we talked about in your episode, just so that we can refresh everybody's memory. Talk about your, 2018, how was it for you and what's coming up for you in 2019? So I'm going to just cycle through. I'm going to start with Benjamin Ritter, who I don't remember when we were on, but it was probably sometime late summer, early fall or summer sometime. Benjamin, are you there?
I am here. I just double checked. It was like the end of August where we were
Okay.
talking.
Awesome. And we talked about
Living for yourself.
living for yourself. Awesome, awesome. So how was your 2018 and like what were your biggest accomplishments, biggest learnings? What was your year all about?
Well, 2018 was the first year where I just had one job. So I
Nice.
left my full-time day job in the beginning of the year, probably around February, and then finished up my doctorate a few months later. So when we talked, it was really kind of think like the tornado and the whirlwind that I've been living in for the past, I mean, my whole life really. And it was kind of coming to a standstill in the sense where I was able to really put all of that energy into one thing. And so that the 2018 was really about focus and investment and really realizing that when you do have, well, when I have one thing to fully focus on at my company, it just exploded. And so 2018, if I had to give it like a name, would be expansion.
I love it. Yeah, and I got to see Benjamin at a one of the events that he's done. He's got some really, really great live events here in Chicago. I had so much fun. We were talking about confidence, I think was your October or later in
Yes,
the
yeah.
fall?
So we
Yeah.
talked about confidence, and the past one was on self-care, and we got one coming up on love.
I love it. Love it. That's awesome. And so you did all this expanding, being able to focus. That's one thing that I definitely feel like I need to do more of in terms of the things that I want to do, which is hard for somebody like me who is very multi-passionate. But what does 2019 have in store for you?
Well, with the focus came a lot of prioritizing. So 2018, there was a lot of like time and energy being invested, but then there was also like, okay, I have all this time and energy now, like what's most effective? So 2019 is probably going to be a lot more of adaptation and being flexible, along with the prioritization, because now that, you know, the scale has occurred, it's about, okay, so like, where can I cut out certain levels of investments? What's working? You know, how can I make it work better? And like, what's not working, can I cut that out? So it's this constant kind of cycle of feedback and like reprioritizing.
I love it. Yeah, I feel like that's a lot of what my year was like. Have all you other guys who we'll dive into a little bit, have you guys had any like shifts in your businesses and all of that stuff similar to what Benjamin has experienced? They're all shaking their heads. Yes, they're not really talking. But that's awesome. Yeah, I feel like for me, I had simplicity as part of my 2018 goal, which was then taking a lot of the things that I was doing and trying to figure out how to not spend so much time doing it. So I can definitely tell that 2019 is going to be a really awesome year for you, and I'm excited to chat with you more and see you, hang out since we're so close, and all of that. And the one other thing, because I know that you can't stay on too long today, is if you had any advice or anything that you want to share with the audience who might be watching this as they're wrapping up 2018, do you have any words of wisdom for them?
Well, this is kind of a like time of the year which can affect people differently. But when you're working on personal growth or you're growing a business, and I've seen this a lot with my clients recently, and we talk about it, we've been talking about it endlessly for the past week or two, is that holidays can kind of give you a feeling of loneliness, even if you're surrounded by family, or a feeling of anxiety or frustration, because the world kind of comes to a standstill, right? So like this month, like next month a little bit, things slow down in people's lives because people are more focused like away from work and more on family and different areas of your life. So it's a really great time to stop and say, well, if I didn't have my business, right, or if I didn't have this like hustle and bustle, would I still find the level of fulfillment that I do during other times of the year? So when you slow down and you're left with your own thoughts and yourself, like where can you find that same level of enjoyment that you're finding, in other months? So what are your true values, and can you experience those values in a time of what you may have labeled as loneliness before?
I love that. I love that. Does any of the other co-hosts want to chime in or share any ahas that come from that advice?
I think Ben is right on the money as far as this time of year could be a challenge for some people as much as it's a celebration for quite a few people. I think, I'm going to save it for when I do my little spot here, but I was going to talk about something I think is important that ties into what Ben was talking about.
I love it. Awesome. Anybody else? No? All right. Thank you so much, Benjamin, for coming on. I don't remember exactly what number episode we were. I should have had all of this written down, but this is me like improvising my show and being like, oh crap, I have to work tomorrow after a long few days of doing nothing. But thank you so much, Benjamin, for sharing. And if there's is there anything that you want to share? Anything else that you want to share that you've got coming up in 2019 that you want to promote or that you've got going on?
I guess I forgot to mention too that this year has kind of been the year of workshops. So if you are really interested in attending a workshop, if you're in the Chicago area, or an event, or even looking to have an event in your city, just reach out. You can go to liveforyourselfconsulting.com. You can find all my contact information, and I will give you all the information that you need regarding events and workshops and coaching services.
I love it. And I would absolutely love to, if you ever want me to also share out, because I know that you always tell me, and I'm on your email list, I think, too. So I will definitely share that out with people who are in the Chicago area as well. So thank you so much for being here. And I don't know if you have to go, because I know we were talking before we went live that you weren't going to be able to hang out the whole time.
Yeah. So part of 2019 will have to also include lots of travel. So I'm out of town right now and I have to actually get off, but I really wanted to make sure I got on for at least part of this episode. So thank you so much for having me. And I will be sure to watch it.
Yeah. And
all the other speakers.
I'm so happy that you were able to take some time out of your busy schedule and the time that you're supposed to be present with family to be with me. So thank you so much, and cheers to 2019.
Yeah, and it's not a busy schedule. It's just a schedule.
Yeah.
that word needs to get away. Put it in a little box and lock it up.
Yeah, that's
we're not
true.
busy. We're just living our lives.
You're right. I do it out of habit. Awesome. Thank you so much, Benjamin. We'll talk to you soon.
Take care.
All right. I'm going to let him shut out. Okay. All right. So now we are down to 4. And then there were 4. Who wants to go next and share their reflections for 2018? Remember, we're going to have to remember what our episode was. And I know that 2 of you were a little bit more recent, so I remember those a little bit more. But who wants to go next?
Apryl, I don't remember. I remember our episode together, but I don't remember what we actually we were drinking. But that's beside the point.
You don't remember?
No, I remember what we talked, but I don't remember what. Oh yes, it was rebellion. Sorry, there it is. That's right.
We talked about rebellion, so I'm guessing that you want to go next.
Well, okay, I guess I'm going. So I'm in it now.
So first off, let us know what was your 2018 like? What's transpired since we talked? Because it hasn't been that long since we did.
No, it hasn't been. I don't know the date when we.
I think it was October or something.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was in October. Well, 2018 was a trip for me. A lot of things changed in my life. My marital status changed in 2018. My business is changing. My focus as far as a coach is totally changing. More into intuitive coaching, more into my spiritual background and following through more into that. So yeah, there's a lot going on. I'm really looking forward to speaking to a lot more people next year and doing more speaking gigs and probably reading a lot of tarot cards for people again. That's something I do all the time.
Were you going to pull a card for us?
I will pull a card for you. I wanted to do that. So I'm going to pull just a single card, and we're going to talk about actually a project I'm doing next year. is I'm going to pull a card and do a video, probably not every single day, and we'll talk about it in terms of business. Tarot cards, you don't have to believe in any kind of crazy magic or anything, but they're great triggers for your subconscious in the minimum. You know, there's a lot of archetypes in these cards, and it's a great way to break out of, you're very stuck in a groove, and it's a way to, it's another way to consider a question and an answer. I was introduced to them through I hang in some intuitive groups. That's a whole nother story. But I found these to be very useful. So I'm going to talk about business with them because I've been a business consultant and coach. And I'm going to try to do it in a very non-wing nutty way so people actually do enjoy it and listen, because there's a lot to be learned from these cards.
So the question that we're asking the cards, or what we're trying to pull from the cards, is something business related.
I'm going to go with a theme. What is this? What is the theme that we're all going to experience in our business next year?
The four of us?
Yeah, we're all going to, well, I'm pretty much anyone who's listening to this. If you are a business person, here's a theme. And so I'm going to just shuffle this really quick here.
I'm going to unmute everybody so we can share our, unless I can't unmute you guys. You have to unmute yourself.
All right.
All right.
Oh, okay. This is a good card for that. All right. So hold it up here so you guys can all see it. You see a bunch of people that look like they're kind of struggling here a little bit. This is the Five of Wands. And the Five of Wands generally comes up for competition in your life. So we may not have the competition could be internal as well. It could be different parts of ourselves competing for what we think we should be doing and what we really want to do. What is really feeding our soul? What is our passion? As opposed to what, has been drilled in us, like you need to work harder, you need to do this, you need to take the practical choices in life. Nobody's talking to each other right here, if you notice. They're all kind of just, they're waving their wands in all different directions. And basically, wherever you are in that group, there's going to be competition around you as well as internal. And the question is, do you trust yourself? Because that's really what it comes down to is, do you trust yourself to not keep looking at what everyone else is doing and taking your cues from that and actually adjusting your core values based on other things around you, which can definitely muddy the waters, and it kind of can take you away from your true purpose of what you are meant to be working on. Believe in yourself. So this is a great card to remind us that competition is everywhere. Not only is it from other businesses, it's from our family, it's from our children. Compete for our attentions, compete for our energies. So it's just a reality. This is part of life all the time. So if you were asking me a love question, I would get into, well, maybe there's someone else interested in who you're interested in. And, or maybe you're, again, competing internally with what you're presenting to someone, which is not possibly your true self. So anyway, I could kind of go off on this, as you could tell. So that is the message. If I was going to distill this down for the year and your business, is really try to get in touch with what your true values are. So you're not playing around with competing ideas and desires that may be based on your ego, or maybe based on your mother, or it might be based on the dude you feel like you're competing with or whoever, and that you feel like you've got to do what they're doing. It's like, try to get in touch with your core values and your internal genius. And that's what I'm going to go with. And I'm going to add one little thing here that I wanted to say that I was thinking about when Ben was talking there. Gratitude is something we think about this time of year, I think, because we have family around us. And gratitude has been brought up a lot in the last couple of years, I think, with The Secret. And there's definitely something to gratitude, no doubt about it. It puts us in a appreciative mindset. It's a higher vibration. And if you're in a crappy place, you tend to draw more crappy towards you. That's just the way it kind of works when you're in a better place. So gratitude is awesome. But the problem is we practice random acts of gratitude. We think about it, and maybe we're feeling some gratitude. But the problem is with most things, and I think it was Tony Robbins who said this, is the law of familiarity kicks in. You know what I mean? You reach that goal, and you're like, yeah, I'm hot, and I hit that goal. I'm on a roll here. But then it becomes the new normal, and gratitude just drifts away because it's familiar now. And so many things in our life become just very familiar. So I am practicing deliberate gratitude these days. And deliberate gratitude is not hard to pull off. everybody should be journaling. If you have a business, journal a little bit every day. It's really a great way to advance what's going on with you and your life in general. So with the practice of deliberate gratitude would be every day, whip out that journal in the morning, write down 10 things you're grateful for. Start your day with this, 10 things. It takes literally 2 minutes to do this. And practice this every morning in your journal to start out. And it definitely gets those happy chemicals going in your brain. It gets us back in touch with what's really important, as opposed to getting up and turning on the TV or something and hearing stuff about government shutdowns and crazy politicians and what have you. It's like, that doesn't make me feel gracious, not at all. So deliberate gratitude is a theme for me next year. It's something I'm probably going to work with a lot of my people and maybe expand on this more. So that's my soapbox for the moment.
I love it. And if there is anyone who is resonating with what you're putting out right now, and they want to,
are you buying what I'm selling?
Buying what you're selling? Like, what do you want to sell them, Jeff?
Are you catching what I'm pitching? Yeah, and if you want to talk more to me, I'm going to put this out here because I saw that. Visit me at mondaychangeseverything.com. That's mondaychangeseverything.com. Let's have an inspiring conversation.
Love it. Love it. I love it. That's awesome. And before we go into some of the other co-hosts' reflections, Sam or Laura, do you guys have any comments on the card that was pulled on the competition and business? Because I feel like when he was saying that, I was like, oh gosh, next year is going to be more of an internal competition with myself, as I'm actually going to focus on money in a sense, which is very, very scary. So it is being very deliberate about tracking, because for the last few years, it was like, hey, let me just get my feet on the ground. But next year is no joke. I actually want to place focus on it. And that scares me because there's that struggle of like, I don't want my business to be all about the money, but at the same time, I want to focus on bringing more wealth into my 2019. So what did you guys have as reflections when he mentioned that about competition?
Sorry, you want to go ahead?
Go ahead.
I was just amazed by the breadth of which of different things that competition can sort of cover. Because, I've been thinking about, my competition as a business. So that's the very obvious, way in which that's relevant. And I've been thinking about, how do I want to deal with the competition? How do I want to become a more major player in the space? And so obviously that's a very direct interpretation of that. But the big theme for next year that I want to talk about when we get to me is balance, because that's something that has been a real issue for me this last year. Balancing everything and just having, avoiding burning myself out by trying to do too much of one thing or trying to do too much of one thing and too much of another thing, which is really what I tend to do. Mm-hmm. So, I think there's a ton of competition in there. And then certainly, there are a million other smaller ways that it plays into things. And I also wanted to mention, because you mentioned Tony Robbins, that in terms of gratitude, he has a really good exercise, which if you just go on YouTube and search for Tony Robbins priming, it's sort of a meditation plus gratitude, plus like a bit of physical movement. So it's a very cool, about 10-minute exercise that he does. So I highly recommend that for
Thanks for that,
people.
Sam. I will definitely check it out. And what you were saying, that resonated with me as well, because you're talking about competing energies. And, we have energies that are competing with each other for attention. And you nailed it right there. And sometimes we will take on all these things, and we do have a finite amount of energy to put into it. So something is going to be competing over here, and it may be something that's for our personal life or our self-care or whatever, and it's like finding that hierarchy of values and what's going to really move the needle in our life. But yeah, I feel you, man. I get it.
Yeah, 100%.
All right. How about you, Laura? What came up on the competition side of things when he pulled our card?
So when you first said, you said like, this is going to be something in your business, and you pull up competition, I'm like, oh, hell no, I'm not competitive. Right. I mean, I'm not competitive that way, because I'm a coach, and we sort of have this philosophy of abundance, right? And this mindset of like, there's plenty of clients and there's no need to compete with each other. And so my first thought was like, no, that's not just not resonating with me. But, you know, when you did start talking about competition in different senses, you know, what really came up for me is sort of this, you know, leaning into things. And, you know, my big thing this year was fear. And how do you live with fear and through it? And, you know, because you're never going to be able to just banish it from your life, and we wouldn't want to, right? Sure. But, you know, when I think about energetically leaning into some of these things that are scary and doing things that I haven't ever done before in my business, you know, I tend to have there's a little bit of a push-pull going on of like, how much do I really want to do a trust fall with the universe? And, you know, like, when is it my intuition, my gut that's telling me something? And when is it my inner critic or gremlin, you know, like, what's that voice, right? And that's where I think I feel the competition the most is, you know, those competing energies. So that's what really stuck with me.
Laura, I think that's probably the most insidious and most powerful competition in all our lives, right? Is the different parts of ourselves and us trying to figure out between the idiot in our head sometimes is telling us stories that aren't true, and right. You know, ego and family stuff and, you know, whatever we pick up along the way, or is it even ours? Or is it somebody else's stuff you're feeling? So
for sure.
Yeah, I love that. So I'm going to pull another card at the very end, which is more of the fun rebel card.
Nice.
When we were doing our conversation, I had my little rebel deck, which I actually am playing with a lot. I still haven't even used the regular tarot cards that I bought, but these are so much more fun. And they're playful. So, all right. Who wants to go next? Sam, Laura, 2018 review.
I'll go.
Okay, cool.
Okay.
How was 2018 for you? I know that we just talked about a month ago.
It hasn't been that long at all.
Yeah.
You know, I think it's just been a year of really amazing growth for me. Like, I don't even realize it, but I was having this conversation with my hairdresser just this past weekend, who was like, I've just had so much fun watching you transform over the past year. And I'm like, yeah, I like don't really feel like I'm that transformed. And she's like, well, it's kind of like when you lose weight, right? Like, she's like, I only see you every 5 or 6 weeks. And so, you know, when you come in, you've made all of this exponential growth, where for you, it's just like a little bit here and a little bit here and a little bit here. It's like if you were losing weight, you know, you might lose a pound a week. And so from week to week, you're not really noticing that much of a difference. But someone who hasn't seen you in 6 weeks is like, holy cow, what just happened? So, you know, for me, it really has been getting up close and personal with fear and understanding how to live with it and how to honor it and, you know, not be so scared of it. Which is easier said than done, but that's a practice that I work on a lot and has been, you know, just really, it's kind of changed a lot of things in my coaching, because I'm a little more likely to go there when, you know, someone's talking about something that it's like, I could just easily gloss over it and kind of get into the next thing. Mm-hmm. But I'm kind of doing a little more of that, whoa. Wait, what was that thing that you just, let's stop for a minute. I heard you say this thing. I think we should just dig in that a little bit more. And, you know, there was a time earlier in my coaching practice where I was nervous about that because I didn't want to necessarily upset someone, or I didn't want to call out their bullshit. Yeah. And now I'm just kind of feeling a lot more comfortable doing that. And I am finding that my clients are so responsive to that, you know, because nobody ever does that. Nobody's doing that with them.
Absolutely. Yeah, I've noticed a shift too. And I think that, you know, from the first year of coaching in comparison to now, even one of my clients is actually going through IPEC, which is a program that we both went through. And I'm watching that whole conversation of how the coaching is and realizing how far I've come, because I'm like, wow, this is very elementary coaching stuff, which is great because you have to start somewhere. But and it is, you're almost doing clients a disservice when you don't call them out, because nobody else is going to do that for them. And that's kind of what they're hiring you to do, is to shine that mirror back at them and be like, hey, do you realize that you're doing this thing? And my coach does that to me all the time. So that's awesome. Yeah, I'm sure that there's been so much growth in everything that you do, because there's, especially in that, first couple of years of your coaching business, and because there's so much to do and so much to be done. And you don't necessarily always see, you're looking for these outside tangible things to say like, yes, I've made it, or yes, I've taken that step, but it hasn't been, but you don't necessarily think about those as wins, because you're waiting for that like big nugget to be like, yes, this is it. So that's awesome. So what does 2019 have in store for you?
For me, 2019, I'm expecting to really continue this growth, but particularly, in my business, because I've been getting a little bit more comfortable with leaning into that fear and trying different things. And I can see the impact that that's already having. And I think it's really going to transform my practice next year. And one of the things that I wanted to tell everybody here about that I'm doing is I heard, earlier, I think, Jeff, you were talking a little bit about self-care and this competition that we have to really take care of ourselves. And, this is the time of year when there's all this talk about New Year's resolutions. And I think that we all put this insane pressure on ourselves this time of year that like, oh my God, I've got to do all of these things next year. I've got to be all of these things next year. I'm finally going to fill in the blank. And then, we beat ourselves up when by February we've just abandoned the resolution, because it's just, it's not worth it. And I think there's two things going on. I think one is we don't really get personal about the why, like the real reason that we want to change something in our lives. And so we usually attack a symptom rather than getting into the core of what it is that's causing that thing to be going on that we don't like in the first place. That's one thing. And then the other thing I think is it's just, it's about not being in the habit of doing some of these things like daily gratitude or whatever it is. And so I am starting in January a Mind Body Reset. It's a free Facebook private group that I have committed to every day coming on for a quick live video where I will share a suggestion for one mindful mission that you can do that day. And if you don't want to do that mission, you can do whatever it is you want to do. If that's meditation, if it's 4-count breathing, if it's gratitude, journaling, whatever. I'm going to come in with all of my best ideas and things that I'd like to try and explore. And then the commitment to this group is every day for the month of January, you'll do 10 minutes of some kind of exercise that you choose and one mindful mission. That could be any of those things that I mentioned. And it's just about small little baby, micro things that you can incorporate into your life that you may be feeling is busy. But there's always time. And you find that when you make the time for these things, it actually makes you more productive and you gain that time back and then some. And I'm sure everybody here would agree with that. And so if you want to join this challenge, it starts on January 2nd. I'm giving everybody the first off. It's a 30-day challenge and we've already got a pretty good group of people. I think we are up to I don't know, last time I checked, around 74 people in the group. Yeah. And so it's a really supportive community that's going to be there kind of cheering each other on. I'm going to be there cheering you on. I'm going to be sharing these live videos with a lot of tips and ideas and things that you can do. And I have some fabulous prizes to give away like one of my favorite, You Are a Badass day-by-day calendar.
Oh, I love that.
And My Intent, if you know about My Intent, it's these bracelets where you pick one word that's like your intention that you want to set. I'm going to give away My Intent bracelets and a whole bunch of other things. So if you want to sign up for this, how do I do this? It's a group that it's going to have a funky long, crazy URL. Oh, you know what? Search for 2019 Mind-Body Reset in Facebook. It's a private group, and ask to join. And I'll let you in because I let everybody in. And I'm really hoping to have a lot of fun and a lot of engagement in this group. Get some healthy habits going for January.
Yes, and I know that you sent me a link to that, and that was like right when my brain was slowly shutting down, and I was like, I got to get back to this, but I have like all these messages, so I actually will share that. And give me I know that you added me to the group, right?
Yep.
So I will link to it when I share this out, because I didn't even share on Facebook. I was like, we're going live. I forgot all this craziness, but I will definitely share that, and I will be there too. So if anybody wants to check that out and get some stuff done, that'll be awesome. And anything I can do to support. So yay. Anybody, Sam or Jeff, do you guys have any commentary or any?
I definitely, I was really relating to what you were saying, Laura, about fear, because fear was kind of a big thing for me over the last year. I had some things that were kind of scaring the bejesus out of me. And one in the business world was I had a big speaking gig. It was a really important one. It was in front of a huge group of people. It was a big money thing. And I learned this one little tip, and it sounds so ridiculously simple, but my God, was it effective for fear. The energy of fear and excitement are very similar energies, right? And I remember sitting there in the green room with all these other speakers, and I just kept saying, telling my subconscious, because it's listening, I'm not afraid. I'm freaking excited. I am excited. And man, I mean, it made the difference. Normally I go out on stage and I feel like a microphone's going to squirt out of my hand because my palm is sweating. I feel like, holy crap, I'm going to have to run to the bathroom. I'm seriously, I get like my knees start knocking sometimes out there. And it's crazy because it's really, none of it's real, really. The energy is real that's flowing through your body, but it's like, none of this is going to happen. But, that one little thing made the difference. I walked out there and I was like, I'm freaking excited, and I killed it. And I've noticed a degree of fear falling away these days, because that's been something for me, especially I do some intuitive stuff, and sometimes it freaks me out a little bit. So realizing I'm safe and I'm good and I'm excited. So
that's awesome. Yeah, I'm a big fan. You know who preaches that is Mel Robbins. If you guys don't follow Mel Robbins, she's amazing. She talks about that all the time. It's exactly the same energy.
Right.
To feel fear or excitement. So just flip that in your head. It's amazing.
Yeah, it really is.
Nice.
Love it.
Yeah, I can definitely relate to that too. Like the feeling that the microphone's literally going to squirt out of your hand.
Oh
when
my
you're
God, it's nasty.
Yeah, no, I've heard that before as well. And I think that's such good advice, because it is really the same energy, and it's just about channeling it in the right way.
Mm-hmm.
Right. The other thing that, Laura, you were talking about your group, I think is really interesting. I don't remember who was talking about it, but they were talking about, it's Marie Kondo's book, the like magic
of tidying
up. Yeah. And so what she preaches in that is basically you're going to sit down for a day or 2 days or however long it takes, and you're going to clean everything. And it's going to be a one-time thing, and that's it. And that definitely is one way to do it. But what they were talking about, and this was some podcast I was listening to, he made a goal for himself that he was going to throw out or donate one thing every day. And so it's similar to, any of these things. It's so easy to procrastinate, and it's so easy to not do the thing. And I remember freshman year of college, they had like a little mini course on how not to procrastinate. And the one thing that they said to do is like, make that minimal commitment. Commit to sitting down for like 5 minutes and doing something.
Yeah.
And it can help you snowball and keep, if you get in the zone, you keep going. But if not, you still did something. Right. And I think that's like the coolest thing about this concept of just doing a little challenge every day. So I'm excited to check that out. I think that's a really cool idea. And I definitely could stand to be a little bit more mindful this coming year. So
Yeah.
I will be joining the group as soon as we
Awesome.
get off this call.
I'll have to check it out too as well, Laura. I love anything that helps build my optimism bias in my life. I'm willing to put in the time.
I'm
Nice.
just going to add you guys right now.
Yeah.
Do that. And then we should also just get started on Sam. Let's talk about, because
Yeah,
you
let's do it.
who started earliest in the year. So we were already
I think I was in March.
live Facebook Live scenario. So what was that? Was that March or?
I think it was March. It was pretty early on.
Yes, and it was fun because I
fun.
remember so well because it was like learning, and I remember.
The real question is, do you still remember the like list of items that we memorized on the call? I don't.
There was
Actually,
like pickled something, garlic or something like. And like socks or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
Is that right?
That's pretty good for like 9 months.
Yeah, and then there was like a something salmon or something like that. Oh my God. Yeah. So there were like
I'm thoroughly impressed, actually.
Yeah, I have a pretty good memory once it was, and I didn't watch the video before.
And you also like by doing the exercise, and we did like like for those who didn't see it, we did this sort of like memory palace exercise where you like place items in a physical space.
Yeah. Is there like a
really
bucket of ice or something like that? I don't.
Is there what?
Something about like a bucket of ice or something like that too.
I think so. Or there's chilled white wine.
What's crazy is that I can see the palace, which is funny because it's like one of my ex's houses. And I was like, oh my God. I haven't even been there in like 25 years or something like that. But I was like, that's what I envision. Because it was like not in my house, because otherwise I'd be looking around my house like, oh, there's.
That's I think one of the hard things with the people who do it competitively is like, you know, erasing the stuff from, because you only have so many spaces that you know well enough to use for this sort of thing. So you actually have to somehow purge it from your memory.
Yeah.
Which I don't actually know how you go about doing that, but
I don't either. But
I am thoroughly impressed though that you remember as much as you do this long after the fact.
My husband probably wouldn't remember anything, so that's why I've got a small head but a big brain. So okay, so we talked about learning in ours, which was such a like fascinating concept. And since it was so early, I know that there's been a chock full of things that have happened since then. So you tell everybody.
Yeah, so I want to talk about the good and the bad, because I think that, like, if you don't mind, and I want to do it in a constructive way, but I do think that we tend to want like to focus on only the good things that happened, and there's a lot that we can learn from both. So, you know, certainly on the positive side of things, we can start with that. You know, I feel like I started the year doing a lot of learning around like personal things. So I like learned how to draw, and I learned how to do some of these memory exercises, and I learned, I got better at poker, but still not good enough to not lose a lot of money when I went to Vegas. I learned a couple other things, and then that sort of transitioned more into learning for work. I realized I was looking back at QuickBooks this year because I was doing my like just the last accounting cycle of the year, and of my expenses, I think more than 50% of the total expenses were like education related expenses for the business, which is like $30,000 worth or something. Like it was a lot. And so it's been really interesting. This has been very much like a year of growth and a year of putting those ideas in place and setting myself up for the next year. So it's been like, this was actually my first year of running the business full time. Like I've been running my business for 3 years now, but I left my job about a year and a half ago. So it was my first full year of running it. And there was just so much like crammed into that. So that was like the really positive side. But I do want to talk a little bit about, you know, I think for me, it's like I kind of overdid it a little bit. And so I really by maybe October or November ended up in this like survival mode where I was just like, I still have to do things. I still have to create stuff, but I'm not really in a good place doing it. I'm not in a place where I'm excited about it. I'm not in a place where I'm enjoying it. I'm in a place where every day it's like a struggle to do the things. And I think that I help people with job interviews. And so I was just recently did a workshop with some of my students about behavioral interviewing, which is just like the sort of questions about your experience and your life and all that. And one of the most common questions is like, what is a weakness that you have? And the key to that, to questions like that, is saying, this is something bad, or in the relation to what I'm saying, this is what went badly in the past year, but here's what I'm learning from that. And here's how I'm taking that and adjusting. And here are the corrections that I'm making. Here are the things that went well that I can continue. And here are the things that went poorly that I can adjust. And so, I see some things this year that went really well, and I see the things that went really poorly. And I think that the big thing for me in this coming year is going to be balance. It's going to be finding where I can optimize that, like my creativity, and optimize my productivity without sacrificing it in some like sustainable way, basically. It's the same as like, even like a diet or something, where people go on this diet, they go hardcore for like a month, and then they just quit and they eat all sorts of crap, because it's like you burn yourself out. And there's so many places where this is applicable. And I'm not sure quite how that's going to manifest itself, but that's sort of my goal going forward for the next year, is finding that balance and figuring out, how do I balance my work and balance everything else too? So I'm like looking at other sorts of classes I could take, or things that I could do that will allow me to really disconnect from work and not be, as I'm sure all of you three have the experience with, of working 24/7, 365 and not really getting anything done a lot of the time. So
yeah, Sam, I was really, really thinking about this really, really great resource that might actually help. Sorry, I had to do it.
I actually have read your book.
I know, but I was like, do it. No,
but I need to review it.
Funny. That was me trying to put my comedian hat on.
It was funny.
So, I mean, it's like when I hear people say stuff like this, I'm like, oh, I love this, because it's so hard to, I mean, it's great to accomplish a lot and do a lot, but then it's like when you hit that point of like, oh crap, I like can't, I'm so tired. It's like, it's not even enjoyable anymore. It takes so much longer to get out of that place of burnout that it's almost not even worth it going down that road. And sometimes you don't really even know what it feels like until you get there. So it's kind of like testing your upper limit. And I feel like I do that all the time. And I'm always trying to be like, okay, my upper limit in like 2011 to 2014 was like here. You can't even see it. And then like when I was diagnosed with alopecia, I was like, okay, I've got to be like here. And now I'm continuing to still try to like bring my capacity like lower and lower, even though I don't have to. Like I know, because I just feel like now that I know that I can work at a lower capacity and still be churning out everything that I'm doing. It's like almost like the marathon and not the sprint, because like after running a marathon, you need that recovery time, but it's also just like the whole slow and steady. And people don't like hearing the word slow, because we're all impatient and we all want to like do amazing things. But I think you would get there regardless, no matter what pace you like, whether you were the rabbit or the hare or tortoise and the hare. I don't even know my stories anymore. So. That's my soapbox. I was like, oh, I love this. I love that there's a balance, because that's definitely been a lot of what I've been doing over the last few years, is like trying to prioritize the balance while I'm trying to accomplish and still work at a high capacity. And it's definitely hard. And it's definitely emotionally like, oh God, I'm so used to like high output. But trying to prioritize your own happiness is so much more valuable than any other outcome that you can accomplish. But that's my opinion. Jeff, Laura, what do you guys think?
Well, I was just going to say, it feels like we've now kind of come full circle, because we're sort of back to what Jeff was talking about in the beginning, right? That competition. Mm-hmm. And, this constant feeling as humans that we have to like do more. And, anybody who studies universal law will tell you that, it's not about working harder or putting in more hours. There's actually a way that you can accomplish infinitely more than you think you can in much less time if you just get out of your way, just get out of your own way.
Totally.
Yeah, no, that's huge, right? It's like that's one of the things that I'm really trying to focus on for the next year is that I'm not getting any more done by worrying about work 24/7.
Yeah.
At all. It's like if I get 3 or 4 good hours of work in a day, that's honestly like going to be probably as much as I'm doing now. So why am I wasting all of my time worrying about work when I could be spending the rest of that time recovering and doing other things?
Yeah.
Totally. Man, I used to live in that place. And for me, meditation was a huge game changer in my life in more ways than I could even get into here. But yeah, I love what you were saying too about the resume question, that they're asking for a weakness and what you're delivering is a solution to this encapsulated in it. It's a redirection. It's like an Aikido move in a way. You're bringing this positive back from this kind of a negative question in a way. I like that. I could see that. I could see taking that and putting that into a lot of things in life.
You can do that for so many things. Yes. And it's like, there's so many questions. I mean, to go with that specific example, there's so many questions that people could ask you in an interview that you could sound really negative or you could sound really positive.
Right.
Like we did a workshop with a couple of my students and they would like tell me the story. And I was like, let's just tweak this and this. Here's how we can just turn that into a positive thing.
Right.
Because people tend to, and I agree, this applies to anything. It's like you just tweak your perception a little bit. And you go from something being a really negative thing to like, what is the opportunity here?
Right.
What did I learn from this? How can I grow from this? And that makes all the difference. It's like you didn't hit your New Year's resolution. Well, like what can you learn from that? And how can you use that to inform? So maybe it's, breaking it down as you're doing, Laura, and saying we're going to do a little bit each day. Or maybe it's I'm going to think about my resolutions in a fundamentally different way. And whatever it is, it's like you're learning something from that and you're growing. And that's where the growth comes from, is the failures, right?
That's it. So, fail fast.
Fail fast, fail often, right?
Yeah, there you go, man.
Oh, I love it. This is such a good conversation. I know we've got about 8 minutes, and all you guys, since we just threw this call together after I shut down the live, just make sure you stick around because I have to do one quick thing with you before we go. I won't keep you too long, but just to kind of wrap things up, one of the things that I wanted to share in terms of people who've been following me, you kind of heard the whole gamut of what my year has been like. I mean, I think my biggest doing accomplishment was centered around improv. I just finished 56 weeks of times 3 hours of improv. So I'm an official comedian. And I think that one of the big things that, I was focused on this past year for myself was focusing on being and not doing. So didn't go and write that book that I said that I was going to write, even though I have 2 ideas maybe I'll just write because I want to. But when I'm ready, I focused on really putting myself out there in all the scary ways, really embracing authenticity and being able to speak my mind just a little bit more. I think there's more that I can do there. Really focusing on prioritizing my family to the point where now I'm moving forward. I'm going to have summer sabbatical as long as my kids are home and in school so that I can really furiously be with them, still do the minor work, but shutting down most of the other external processes because I want to prioritize balance. I need to do that for the holidays as well, because yesterday I was like, oh, I got to work again tomorrow. So still lots of things to learn. And the 2 things that I had on my list for 2019 for my themes, one is wealth and one is resilient courage. I may have mentioned this in a couple places. But resilient courage came from this idea that I realized that one of the reasons why I wasn't feeling the wealth that I wanted in my business is because I wasn't going out and asking hard enough. And there was a lot of limiting beliefs around why I couldn't do that. Really realizing that, like, hey, I'm a life coach and just deal with it, even though there's so many people around me that I feel like shun that idea or think that it's a very foo-foo, hippy dippy type of thing, which I'm not hippy dippy, but it's my job to change the narrative. If so, I'm a life coach and I'm feeling very comfortable saying that. I still have all of my other gazillion different ways to call myself depending on the situation, but I am essentially a life coach. And just being able to go out there, ask, expect a rejection, or be comfortable with a rejection, because I think that was the other reason, and just say, like, okay, being rejected is going to get me one step closer to that thing. And then wealth was the second one. I think that I've been spending the last few years not focusing on the money, which has been super important for somebody who was very driven by money as the way that I was raised and all that stuff. Not that that's a bad thing, because it really got me to where I needed to be, but then releasing the chokehold that money had on me and my personal worth, but really trying to think about from the perspective of wealth, not just financial wealth, but what comes with that and what's that exploration of that. So those are going to be the two themes that I explore over the next year. Simplicity and visibility were 2018. So I'm excited to kind of jump into these really bold themes and see what comes of them. Laura, I was going to tell you that I'm, as part of the whole improv thing, I've become really excited about doing more performance, and I'm going to blow up my YouTube channel in the next year. So I'm going to do a series of 2-minute clips or maybe 2 to 5 minute clips of overcoming fear. So if you have anybody in your circle who wants to document something that they're really afraid of and have me, since we're in the area, and maybe I can do a piece. I'll be my little investigative journalist here. And they're up for having it documented. We might want to talk about that. Jeff and Sam, I'm going to come to New York sometime in the spring, hopefully. So I want to see you guys because I missed you this past October.
Yes, please.
I know. But I did try that one restaurant, yes, Sam, that you told me about it. And Jeff, I told you about my my awesome yet triggering experience with a psychic while I was there. So you guys have been amazing to just be in my life. And I wish you the best last few days of 2018. And cheers to all the growth and the amazing things. And Sam, you didn't tell everybody that you got engaged this year, did I?
Yeah, I did get engaged this year. 2 months ago.
Yay.
Forgot about that one.
Yeah, so wait, if you had to do it in a minute, how did you propose?
We took a weekend trip to Mexico over our 5-year anniversary, and we stayed at a really expensive hotel, and we had a fancy dinner down in a little cabana by the ocean. So I did it there.
Yay! Nice. Do you guys have your wedding date set and all that stuff?
We don't have a date set, but probably next fall sometime.
Yay!
So we need to start planning, suffice to say.
Super fun. That's awesome.
It's been fun talking to family about it while we've been visiting them over the holidays.
Yeah, I'm sure everyone is excited. So this is such a great time too to start thinking about that balance, because now you're going to be starting a family of your own with you and your fiance, and having that union and making sure that it's strong. So that's awesome. So all right, so let's just wrap it up with one last maybe just 30 second words of advice from everyone, and then I'll close it out with an epic rebel card. So let's go backwards. So Sam, words of advice.
Learn something new this year. It doesn't have to be something big. It can be as simple as watching the episode that Apryl and I did and trying to memorize the random list of items along with us, or it can be find something that you're excited about and learn it.
And is there anything that you wanted to share with the audience in case they're...
If you are a software engineer, or you know any software engineers who are looking for jobs, you can find me at byte-by-byte.com. It's byte-by, by-byte.com. but I'm guessing that's a subset of your audience, a fairly small one. But if
I
anyone's
don't
out
know.
there, let me know.
I know a lot of engineers.
I'd love to talk to you.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Okay, Laura, words of wisdom for 2019.
I'm gonna say, give yourself some grace next year. We're really hard on ourselves, and especially as we talk about setting goals or making resolutions, we're trying to change something. It's not going to be perfect, and if you can just remember to treat yourself with the same kind of acceptance and grace and kindness that you would somebody you really care about, be a game changer for you.
Game changer. I love that. Jeff.
Okay, I'm going to say this one because I know this is a challenge for people, but it is the secret sauce to pretty much most things in business, is figure out what your values are. What are your values? People tend to ignore these things, and when you take on projects or take on pretty much anything and they are not in alignment with your values, you talk about climbing up. It's always an uphill journey, and failure is going to happen much easier. And if you're not clear what your values are, you may assign that failure to something completely unrelated to why you were set up to fail, because you went against what's your soul's mission in this. So get in touch with your values. And if you sell a product or service and you know your customers' values, if you can take their values and wrap it around your product, it becomes absolutely irresistible. So values are super important.
I love it. Thank you. And I'm going to close out with this card. I have no idea what this is going to say, but let's see. This is for your 2019. It says laugh. I know it's not really that clear because there's so many bright lights. And on the back, it says, where the fuck is your sense of humor? So everybody have a laughterful 2019. Take all these words of wisdom. I will share all of everybody's contact information again so that you can see anything if you stumble upon this today or 5 years from now when we're all big deals and inaccessible. But here is a way to reach out to us. It'll be in the show notes and on my blog. And thank you guys so much. Have a wonderful rest of your holiday and have a happy 2019. All right. Bye, guys.
Happy New Year, everyone.
Thank you so much for being here. Thank you.